Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome back into another episode of Machine Heads. Love having you on the channel. So today I want to talk about the Backhoe loader, a machine that has been a staple on North American job sites for nearly a century. Now, if you rewind 20 years, the Backhoe was nearly ubiquitous. Every job site, just about every farm that you saw had one of these machines working somewhere. But over the last 15 years, the Backhoe has kind of slowly faded into the background. It's become more and more rare to see one of these machines on a job site as its market share has progressively shrunk due to the competition from smaller, more compact machines. Machines like the compact track loader and the mini excavator, or more commonly, the combination of those two machines. But guess what? The Backhoe is making a bit of a comeback. All right, so today in this video, we're gonna take a deep dive into the backhoe loader category. We're gonna look at why the backhoe dipped in popularity, what's kind of fueling this, slight resurgence in popularity that we're seeing today, and we're also gonna take a look at the lineups of three manufacturers: Case Construction Equipment, Bobcat, who had just launched a new backhoe loader, and JCB. And be sure to stick around to the end of this video. That's really important because we're going to be sharing some essential tips for researching and buying your next backhoe loader. Let's dig in. Okay, so first up, how did this versatile workhorse, this machine that really combines two of the most common functions that you're going to find on any job site, loading and digging, how did this Swiss Army knife of construction lose its footing? Well, it really comes down to a few key factors that completely shifted the industry landscape. Now, first up, we can't ignore the 2008 recession. While other equipment categories like excavators and wheel loaders eventually bounced back from that, backhoe sales never fully recovered to their pre-recession highs. Contractors at that time, in the wake of that recession, were really forced to get lean in a lot of ways, specifically on their fleet. And they had to sell off equipment, become much more comfortable with renting rather than buying. And at the same time, they got a lot more comfortable through those rental kind of transactions with more compact equipment. Now, all of that economic pressure fundamentally changed how fleets were going to be managed moving forward. And then, because of what we just said with a lot of the rental that was being done, that came and kind of fostered the rise of compact equipment. Not just that, obviously the tool carrier functionality of compact equipment has a lot to do with that, but the combination of compact track loaders or skid steers with a mini excavator really started to chip away at the backhoe's market share. These compact machines offered what was perceived as enhanced versatility and robust tool carrier functionality. And the thinking was, why would I have one machine that's trying to do 2 or 3 jobs and really has to compromise in order to do those jobs when I can have multiple dedicated compact machines that really excel at those specific tasks? They don't compromise in any way. And even compact wheel loaders and telehandlers played a role in this shift as well. Now, another big issue for the backhoe was perception. Right around 2010, the backhoe started to be seen as kind of an antiquated concept. Now, something that had been a strength of this machine for years, its traditional kind of stick control, started to feel alien and kind of just uncomfortable to a new generation of operators. Now, those operators were more accustomed to the more intuitive joystick-style fingertip controls that modern machines had brought along. Now, all of that said, despite all of these challenges, the backhoe market has shown some resilience. And here in these recent years, we're now seeing a resurgence in demand for these machines. And by and large, what we're seeing driving this kind of comeback has been some market corrections, technological advancements, and evolving operator needs. Now, this resurgence can really be traced back to around 2020 to 2021, because that's really when we saw industry sales stop falling off that cliff, really, and start to level out. And then now in certain sectors, they've really started to inch up again. Now, it's nowhere near the heydays of decades past, but it's safe to say that across every manufacturer and in every sector, the backhoe bleeding has finally stopped. Now, one major reason for the leveling off of kind of this dip in backhoe demand, according to some manufacturers, has really been kind of like an overcorrection on the part of contractors who, when the financial recession hit back in 2008, they got so lean away from the backhoe, and they found that, maybe they went a little too far in the other direction. So they went to all these compact machines, but now that the backhoe has evolved a little bit, which we're going to get into in just a little bit, now that that machine is a little bit more modernized and has kind of taken on some of the traits of that compact equipment, they're starting to come back in the other direction and are kind of rediscovering the backhoe, as it were. And look, a pivotal factor in that really has to do with what makes compact equipment so popular in the first place: tool carrier capability. And the backhoe is now a better tool carrier than it was, a much better tool carrier than it was, 10, 15 years ago. The backhoe really has become, it's always been seen as a Swiss Army knife, but now it's a Swiss Army knife with many, many, many more blades. Most new units come with auxiliary hydraulics today, often both one-way and two-way, and that lets them basically provide power to a wide array of attachments, like a lot of the things you can put on the front of a skid steer or CTL: hammers, augers, forks. There's also growing demand for factory installed thumbs on backhoes as well. And what this basically means is that backhoes can now effectively perform a lot of diverse tasks, from initial land clearing to final site preparation. Now, another big thing to take into consideration here is that a lot of sectors, a lot of customers never abandoned the backhoe. For example, municipalities and public works departments. So when it comes to municipalities, if you maintain roads or utilities for a town, a backhoe is just pure gold as a machine investment. It can be driven at road speeds of 20 to 30 miles per hour to a site, whereas a tracked excavator has to be hauled on a trailer. And in a small city or town, one machine that can do a little bit of everything, even if it doesn't do as good of a job as separate machines, but it can dig trenches and fill potholes, load debris, even plow snow, and do all of that with one operator at the helm, that's a huge budget saver. And crucially, it can move between jobs under its own power. Again, you don't have to tow these things around. They can road. And that's really why the municipal sector actually grew as a percentage of backhoe sales during the slump. City fleets kept buying them for their versatility and mobility. Now, in private construction, there are parts of the private sector that really never stopped valuing the backhoe's contributions. And those really include like utility installations, valuing the backhoe's ability to dig, lay pipe, backfill. And interestingly, the landscaping segment, which had almost entirely dropped off, is now seeing an uptick in backhoe demand. We're also starting to see a little bit of an uptick in demand for backhoes in the agricultural sector, thanks to the availability of more value-priced or utility-priced models. Manufacturers have also made huge strides when it comes to modernizing the backhoe. They have modernized the controls, and they've made a lot of improvements to operator comfort. They've really worked hard to make the controls more intuitive and feel more familiar to operators who are, maybe more accustomed to the joystick controls on a skid steer or a mini excavator. We're seeing servo controls similar to mini excavators and pilot controls go on these new backhoes. And many functions are now integrated into digital displays, and that has greatly reduced the amount, just kind of like the sheer number of physical switches, and it has streamlined the operator experience for the better. And this really directly goes into addressing that perception that backhoes kind of got of being antiquated. All right, so now that we've kind of taken a look at the market for backhoes in general, let's start taking a look at the specific lineups from Bobcat, Case, and JCB. Now, as you're going to find, each of these manufacturers kind of bring their own unique strengths and strategic approaches to their lineups, and the lineups really kind of are emblematic of those different approaches. So obviously JCB has a deep backhoe heritage, and it's really a leader when it comes to backhoe innovation. This company is just constantly pushing the boundaries of the backhoe concept forward. And let's start with a good example of that. Their smallest offering, the 1C XT. Now, this is a tracked compact backhoe. The 1C XT is essentially a hybrid of a CTL and a mini excavator. It's an innovative twist on the backhoe and really a direct response from JCB to address that very combo of machines, right, that was eating up backhoe sales to begin with. So instead of wheels, it rides on rubber tracks, like we said, and it's driven with skid steer style controls. There's no steering wheel. And up front, it has a small loader bucket that's going to give you about 1,400 pounds of lift capacity. And in back, it's got a compact excavator arm. Weighing under 10,000 pounds, the 1CXT is super easy to transport. And while its rated operating capacity is only around like 1,400 pounds, like I said, it really does have a lot of versatility, and it supports attachments like augers, thumbs, and more. Some contractors even equip these things with tilt rotators. This machine really does kind of deliver 90% of what you can kind of expect out of both a CTL and a mini excavator in terms of job site capabilities. And they deliver that in one compact unit. Now, next up in the JCB lineup, we have the 3CX Compact. Now, this machine is notably smaller and narrower than a traditional backhoe. It's a 74 horsepower machine, and it features a skid steer hitch on the front, and it can provide up to 32 gallons per minute of hydraulic flow for various attachments like snowblowers, brooms, and even mowers. Now, this model boasts a road speed of up to 25 miles per hour, and it incorporates a hydrostatic transmission for precise attachment flow. The 3CX Compact is exclusively offered with a side shift chassis. And that's a really important point here, because that side shift chassis is really going to make it more ideal for confined spaces. So JCB is really playing to the strength of the 3CX Compact with this side shift chassis. Look, if you're working along a wall or in a street, you don't have to reposition the whole machine as often if you're using a 3CX Compact thanks to that side shift chassis. You can basically just shift the boom over, and you can dig offset trenches right up against any obstacles you may be faced with. Now, JCB's regular platform backhoes include the 3CX and 4CX. Now, the 3CX14 is a 74 horsepower machine that doesn't require diesel exhaust fluid, and that makes it really a popular low-cost option, mainly for the rental sector. Then you move up to the 3CX Plus and the 3CX Pro models, and these feature a larger 109 horsepower JCB engine that's going to deliver substantial pushing power with nearly 381 foot-pounds of torque. The 3CX Pro is actually the fastest backhoe on the market thanks to its top speed of 30 miles per hour. Now, these are high-performance models, and they're predominantly found in the construction and municipal sectors. Now, rounding out the JCB backhoe lineup is the 4CX. Now, this is JCB's premium offering, characterized by those 4 equal-sized wheels. This design really provides increased traction and increased flotation, and it makes it best suited for applications demanding heavy loader performance, and it allows it to compete actually against wheel loaders. Now, I mentioned that the JCB 3CX Compact is sold exclusively as a side shift machine, and that really is another kind of interesting development that we've seen here in the last 5 years or so, is this growing interest in side shift backhoes here in North America during that time. So look, while center pivot machines have really dominated North American job sites for the last 70 years, the side shift backhoe has been the most popular choice in Europe, where space has been at a premium for longer. There's a lot of you out there that may have never even seen a side shift backhoe in person, just because these models were just not sold here in North America, because we just haven't had that constraint nearly to the degree that we've had it recently here in the last maybe 10 years. But now that space is becoming more scarce on our side of the pond, many contractors and municipalities are discovering the side shift's improved roading stability and its ability to dig right up against structures. That side shift design also allows for the excavation of square trenches without the constant repositioning of the entire machine that we were alluding to earlier on the 3CX Compact. Now, we can't have a conversation about backhoes and the modern backhoe without talking about Case. Case launched the very first integrated backhoe back in 1957 to North America, and today the company boasts the broadest lineup of backhoes in the industry, with 9 models distributed across 4 distinct families. Let's talk about it. Now, leading this lineup is the 580 EV, and that's notable as the industry's first electric backhoe. The 580 EV is built upon a 580 Super N frame, and it has a 72.7 kilowatt hour battery capacity. It offers 0 emissions and significantly reduced noise, and that makes it ideal for municipal work, especially during nighttime operations. But obviously, there's other applications where this machine would really fit in as well, anywhere where noise and emission sensitivity are a thing. Now, Case views the 580 EV as more than just an electric machine. It also kind of serves as a hierarchy model with advanced technology like fully electro-hydraulic controls and more sophisticated display screens intended to trickle down to their other diesel models over time. Moving on to the N-Series family, the N-Series includes the very popular 580 Super N, which is Case's highest volume and most popular model, along with the 580 SN wide track and the 590 SN. Now, these are considered premium models within the Case lineup, and they boast the best performance specs. They feature Case's distinctive over-center backhoe design, which effectively shifts weight to the front axle, and that's going to result in great roading performance and the ability for the machine to dig basically up underneath itself. And a key advantage of the N-Series is its consistent lift capacity and breakout force, which don't drop off when lifting heavy objects like sewer pipes, and that prevents the need to bring in larger, more expensive equipment most of the time. Now, these models also incorporate advanced features such as heavy lift and power boost. Now, the SV series is a relatively newer product line for Case, and that encompasses 4 models. The 580 SV, available in both center pivot and side shift versions, and the 659 SV, and that's also offered in center pivot and side shift versions. Now, the 580 SV is notably Case's second most popular model. The 659 SV model stands out for its 4 equal-sized tires and offers multiple steering modes, including crab steering, circle steering, and regular front axle steering. Now, this model is designed to approach the specs of a wheel loader, kind of like what we were talking about with the JCB 4CX, but the 659 really appeals to customers who might have considered a dedicated wheel loader but desire the added versatility that a backhoe brings to the table. Now, rounding out the Case backhoe lineup, you have the Utility Plus model. Now, this is specifically targeted at the rental market. It was introduced to meet the price point desired by most rental housers who really sought a backhoe that offered a better return on investment compared to other product lines. From a specification standpoint, the Utility Plus model provides the expected performance of a full-size backhoe, but it omits some of the popular premium features that are found on other models like Pro Control, which is Case's swing dampening system, or Ride Control. When you remove these bells and whistles but maintain the core specifications, what you kind of are left with in the Utility Plus model is a value-priced option, again, primarily aimed at the rental market, but also appealing to customers who are looking for a new machine with a full warranty and at a price point comparable to a late model used unit with low hours. Now, we're going to round out today's backhoe deep dive with the latest backhoe model to hit the market and the latest entrant in terms of manufacturers to hit the market, the Bobcat B760. Now, for a lot of the reasons that we've already talked about so far, Bobcat made that calculated strategic decision to really leap into the backhoe market last year with the introduction of this B760 model. Now, this was a machine that had already proven successful in South America, and Bobcat has timed its North American launch to coincide with the market stabilization and the slight increase that we were talking about. So the B760 is a mid-sized backhoe loader powered by a 96 horsepower 3.4-liter Bobcat engine. It boasts a class-leading 18.4 feet of dig depth with the extendable arm provided as a standard feature. Really nice. Its loader lift capacity reaches nearly 8,000 pounds, and with an operating weight of approximately 20,000 pounds, the B760 is designed for high maneuverability and achieves an impressive road speed of 22.6 miles per hour. Now, customer feedback significantly influenced the B760's design, which, like the Case Utility Plus model that we were talking about just a second ago, this model, the B760 from Bobcat, emphasizes a very simple machine design, kind of devoid of a lot of those premium bells and whistles. It's got pilot controls for both the loader and backhoe work groups for the precision and kind of response of those controls. So a lot of operators are really going to like that about this machine. Many functions are integrated into a 5-inch display, and that's going to reduce the overall number of physical switches. So it's not the biggest display, might not be the best display, but you are reducing the number of physical switches, kind of streamlining operator experience there. Now, for maintenance, the 3.4-liter Bobcat engine utilizes a diesel oxidization catalyst after-treatment system, and that's going to eliminate the need for DPF regeneration, and that reduces downtime and simplifies maintenance. You know all of that. Now, the B760 comes standard with hydraulic auxiliaries and quick couplers, enhancing its versatility for various attachments like packers and augers. It also includes ride control and return to dig features. This machine is just really, really interesting. It's obviously an all-arounder. It's a nice mid-sized machine. It's not too small, but it's also not too big, so there's a lot of maneuverability there. But it's suitable for light excavation, footings, agricultural applications, even tree removal. It's just a really great kind of Goldilocks machine with, Bobcat trying to give you everything you need with nothing that you don't. Okay, guys, so you've listened to me rant and rave about backhoes, and you're convinced that the backhoe loader as a category is back, and you want to add one to your fleet. So here are a few tips for researching and buying the backhoe that best fits your needs. All right, so step one, define your needs and applications. You want to start by thoroughly assessing the primary tasks that your backhoe is going to perform. Think about your typical job site conditions, your space constraints, and the terrain. Think about which end of the backhoe you're going to value more. Does your work require more load and carry, or does it require a deep digger? How often will you need to transport it between sites, and how far will you need to do so? A clear understanding here is really going to do the best job of guiding your selection of size, power, and features. All right, moving on to step two. You want to evaluate versatility and attachment compatibility thoroughly whenever you're considering a backhoe. The modern backhoe's strength, and I can't emphasize this enough, really is its enhanced tool carrier capability. Like the rise in compact machines, if it's done anything, it has really just kind of like driven home the point that contractors, equipment operators really want a multi-tool machine with them at all times. So when you're looking at a new backhoe, prioritize that. Prioritize models with robust auxiliary hydraulics, both one-way and two-way, and quick couplers on both the front loader and the rear hoe. Consider the specific attachments that you're going to be using that will maximize your productivity and your profits, like hammers, augers, pallet forks, and thumbs. Really start to see this as a multi-tool machine in the modern sense, not just as a backhoe. Moving on to number three, you definitely want to consider roadability and efficiency of roadability, efficiency for transportation. We mentioned this earlier, but if your work involves frequent travel between geographically dispersed job sites, then the backhoe's ability to drive on public roads at speed is just a huge advantage. This can really eliminate the need for separate transport vehicles and trailers, and that should lead to substantial cost savings and improved logistical efficiency. Some backhoes top out around 20 miles per hour, but there are others on the market like JCB's 3CX Pro that can hit up to 30 miles per hour. Faster travel saves you a lot of time and money if you have multiple sites to cover on the daily. And on the flip side, if you plan to trailer the backhoe frequently, this is kind of the other design consideration. Do you want to road it a lot, or do you want to trailer it a lot? If you are going to be trailering it, check out the weight and dimensions. A smaller model under 10,000 or 15,000 pounds might be advantageous to avoid special transport requirements. All right, guys, so that's going to round up our 2025 deep dive into the backhoe loader. This was a machine that was basically declared, dead. This category had just been, dipping and dipping in terms of market share for years and years, but finally in 2020 or so, it started to kind of level out, and now we're actually seeing that uptick in demand. And again, that's thanks to really what it kind of boils down for me, what I kind of learned throughout this entire experience of researching this video is that, it kind of stuck it out for a little while. And then a lot of those advancements that we saw and a lot of the things that people really, really like about, compact track loaders, mini excavators, and compact equipment in general, that's kind of trickled upward to a machine that's larger than compact equipment in the backhoe loader. You're starting to see more auxiliary hydraulics, more tool carrier support. You're starting to see more simplified control schemes, lower prices, all things that people love about compact equipment kind of transitioning and helping backhoes kind of see a little bit of an uptick in demand, which makes perfect sense. So all of that being said, if you're looking for a versatile, efficient, and powerful machine that can handle a wide range of tasks, the backhoe is still something you should consider here even in 2025. The modern backhoe definitely deserves a serious look from you. So go visit your local dealer, get in the seat. Seat time is paramount. Rent one of these machines and experience kind of the difference that a backhoe can deliver to your operation, and kind of start thinking about how could this impact your profitability and your ability to score more jobs, but also get those jobs done faster. All right, guys, as always, thank you so much for watching. We always appreciate the time and your attention. If you found this video helpful, please do us a favor and hit that like button. Be sure you're subscribed here to the Compact Equipment YouTube channel. Turn on notifications so that you're getting the alerts whenever we put out a new video. And also, if you haven't checked out our website yet, there's tons more equipment research, helpful articles, tips, and tricks on compact equipment at our website, compactequip.com. Thank you guys again for watching. Always appreciate the time. We'll see you in the next one.